Welcome on another episode of Creators Corner. I'm your host, James Dale, and with me is Eazy G. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
All right. Garfield Robinson, aka Johnny Rep, aka Eazy G, but affectionately known as Gary amongst close friends and family. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, he was the quintessential Jamaican boy, yard boy.
Yes, indeed.
Always active, he played soccer, ran track and field, did swimming and many other activities, including scuba diving, acting, and ballroom dancing.
Correct.
After migrating to the U.S. in 1988, he attended Hofstra University and played semi-pro soccer in Long Island, New York. He moved to Connecticut in 1990, and after taking part in a series of plays, he finally got involved in radio when a friend invited him to be a co-host on a program at Busy Radio. He stayed there for a year, and opportunity knocked when he was invited to start his own show on Energy Radio. He then moved on to Hope Music Radio and remained there for a year. After leaving Hope Music Radio, he ended up at Primal Media Network. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. He finally found his home at Optimal Gold Radio, where he created a fresh and new spectrum with his show Morning Vibes with Eazy G, bringing a varied approach with his co-host, Dr. Van.
Dr. V.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
His shows touches on matters of life, love, health, and culture, invoking old school and modern music as the nucleus of his show. Gary grew up in a simple town in Jamaica, which not having many privileges, but as a kid, almost the hardships and the challenges, he still maintains his love and appreciation for sports and education. Gary is divorced.
Yes.
He has 3 or 4 daughters and 1 granddaughter. He still continues to work his full-time job with a company that focuses on transportation and logistics. He still continues to work his other people's nerves when he go to deliver the stuff that he delivers, and that winning smile is the thing that brings people in, and when you rope them in now, that's when you get them, right? And you tell them about your show.
Yes,
His biggest love is spending time with his family, especially his daughters. His drive and resilience in whatever he does comes from his parents, who were big influencers in his life. His biggest interests and likes are traveling, reading, sports, the performing arts, and cultural diversity. He continues to be active in working out and scuba diving and reading. You have lived a very eclectic life, and it seems like you are outdoorsy type person. Have you ever been mountain climbing or hunt deer or anything?
I've done rock climbing.
Okay.
I've tried hunting, but what I found out is it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
You become the ultimate predator.
Right.
So you now moving into a different format, a different environment, you have to actually mentally think like an apex predator. But it takes patience. This is why I have so much respect for lions, tigers, bears, because everything they do to win their meal on a daily basis takes a lot of patience and precision.
And dedication.
Yes, and dedication. This is why I tried it, and as I said, but it just didn't work out for me, you know. But I went with a couple of friends, but it was a long-lasting experience that's still embedded in my head.
Yeah, well, you have to, I guarantee you that you put that resilience and patience and dedication to other aspects of your life. That's why you're so successful at what you do.
Yes, thank you. Success, the term success can be defined in so many areas. You one man's success might be another man's failure. So I look at success, the way we measure it should not so much on what you earn, but I think the influence you have on people,
that's
how it affects, how it impacts people on a whole. So if I get 5 people and send me a message, thank you, it was a good show, it was a good program, or thank you for that speech, then I was successful.
Okay. So is that or was that the motivation for you to start doing radio?
Actually, I never even thought I would go into radio.
Mm-hmm.
Radio kind of found me in a sense. I was asked to be a part of a program by a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and when I reluctantly accepted the offer, I found it came natural
Mm-hmm.
because growing up in Jamaica, I was always a kid of the arts. I was once head boy of a secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very comfortable speaking in front of an audience,
Mm-hmm.
speaking to people from the holding the mic. So when I started doing the radio, it just like, like they call muscle memory. You're doing weights,
Mm-hmm.
you haven't done it for years, but the minute you go back, your muscles just started developing real rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
It's muscle memory. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was an artistic memory. It just flowed right back in my system, and everything was just easy. And that's when people started to call and ask about me and stuff like that. So I just stayed with it.
So that means you didn't have no formal training whatsoever
No.
in broadcasting, and sometimes that is the best way
Natural.
to go into things, to be a natural at it. And did you have anybody along the way who were mentors who say, okay, you can incorporate this in your style of play and different breathing techniques, or how you attack or approach, not attack, approach radio host, being a radio host?
Okay, I gotta give credit to one particular individual. But if I were to actually recognize my talents as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go back to my life in Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
where I had a gentleman and a young lady. Her name was Dion,
Mm-hmm.
and Dion was a very talented actress. She's now doing radio in Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
a very popular radio host. Shout out to Dion and Lady Dion. And she encouraged me with acting because I was shy.
Mm-hmm.
There was that shyness about me. Popularity was not something that I embraced. Some people embrace it, but I didn't. But when I was doing the National Drama Festival with her, there were times I felt like I couldn't do certain roles, and she encouraged me, and I got some pointers from her. The next person came with a friend. I did some skits in Hartford with a friend by the name of Rufus.
Mm-hmm.
He did several plays. He brought me into his into the company and gave me several roles and told me I was a natural.
Mm.
So I stayed with it. Then coming into radio, I give full credit to Papa Chapa from Energy Radio.
Okay.
He's a brother and a friend, and I still respect him to the utmost. We're still friends, even though I'm not at Energy Radio anymore, but he's a gentleman that I consider family. And here's what's so unique about our friendship. This guy we share the same birth date, same Earth strong.
Mm.
So we have almost similar traits
Mm.
in our personalities. So he's the one who would actually sit me down and gave me pointers with the radio.
Okay.
And that's how I developed my craft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I join you and Dr. Vanjie
Yes.
on your radio show. We do a skit, Stella and Trevor. What prepared you for writing, coming up with the characters for Stella and Trevor? Was it your experiences in Jamaica? Was it your influences while you came here and after you did radio? What prompted you to start Stella and Trevor?
I'll tell you something. You ever heard the term, art imitates life?
Mm-hmm.
And growing up in Jamaica, I had this habit. I call it a habit. I enjoyed watching people.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is more amusing than watching human beings. You would be amazed the little things you see that just tickles my sense of humor. And so growing up in the ghetto for my first 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
I watched people, watched their behavior, adults, kids. When I got involved in sports, I watched my teammates, the coaches. So I derived all these different characteristics so I could at times mimic. I practiced mimicking people. So this is where that artistic side came in, where I could use characters. But the characters I use are from my past, people I remembered. So it's actually people that I watched and I kind of memorized the behavior, how amusing it was. So I put it in writing into my skits.
Okay. Do you have formal training of writing plays?
Skits? No, never did. Most of what I do, I teach myself.
Okay, self-taught.
Self-taught.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. That's good. Shout out to all the people who were self-made. You know, even though you give credit to a lot of people along the way who have more experience than you
Right.
in different aspects of your ambitions,
Right.
who help you push you along. And what they have a saying that they call steel sharpens steel.
Yes.
So they must have saw something within you that they want to help cultivate, so you can be the best version of yourself. And this is what you have.
Very good point. I'll tell you something. With the gentleman, Papa Chapa, I was raw, so I'm doing a radio that, you know, they're not just an internet radio. They have a band and people could hear them in their cars, in their homes. So you have to have it was a more professional approach. So there were times when I felt like giving up because I got the criticisms that I was not being radio friendly or professionally working the process as a radio host. And he was the one who said no. He distinctly said, I've been in this business for over 20 years and you just started and you're doing better than a lot of people I see who've been in it a long time. So he said, don't give up on yourself, stay with it. So that's what gave me that motivation to still continue.
You have to have people in your life that keep you within the confines of what your ultimate goal is and your ambitions is, but ultimately you have to have inner peace.
Yes.
You have to have perseverance.
Yes.
Right? You have to be dedicated to what you do, and you have to have faith not only within
What you
yourself,
believe in.
but you have to have faith in the Almighty. If you don't have any faith in the Almighty and thank the Creator for putting you in certain positions,
right.
giving you the blessings to cultivate whatever talent that you have, you're not going to make it anywhere. Your bio mentions that your interests include scuba diving and football. For those of you who don't know football, you know, in America we call it soccer. Which one did you aspire to be a professional at?
Okay, I missed out something in my bio. As I said, my first 16 years in Jamaica, I was very poor, dirt poor. And my mom was my hero. Unfortunately, she's my, biggest influence in moving forward and not giving up. She was a single mom that grew, we had about 6 of us. And I go back, I remember going back to that place years later after I came to United States, and I went back. It was a room. It wasn't a bedroom. It wasn't 2 rooms. You had the 6 of us, my grandmother and her in one room.
Efficiency, they call it efficiency.
I don't even know what to call that.
Yeah, it's
Because
efficiency.
when I looked at it as a grown man, it looked like a box. And I looked at it, and I'm thinking of my mom and her pressures, and I broke down. Because I said, for a young lady at that time, the things that she had to endure to try to make sure we could eat.
Mm.
And there were many evenings we didn't. But one of the things I found out with the young people in Jamaica, in the low income neighborhoods, the ambitious ones look for outlets.
Mm-hmm.
One of my outlets was sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I genetically was a gifted soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
We call it soccer here, football.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I was for that, my grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
his father was from England, and my grandfather was a talented soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
Then my uncle, his son, was a great soccer player, got a soccer scholarship back home.
Mm-hmm.
I became a soccer player instinctively.
Mm.
I remember as a little boy, with my uncle, I used to play at his feet.
It was traditional.
Try to get the soccer ball from him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up becoming so interested in the game. I would sit in his lap and watch football.
Mm.
I remember watching 1970 World Cup with him. I was like 10 years old. 9 years old. I watched 74 World Cup with him, World Cup soccer. But the thing I left out was boxing.
Mm.
That's why I do martial arts, mixed martial arts and boxing, because I love, that's actually, to be serious, boxing is my second, and martial arts, contact sports, those are my favorite sports apart from soccer. I did boxing for a few years.
Okay.
Had 9 fights, amateur fights, won 8, and one fight that I lost, I quit, went back to soccer.
Okay.
I'll never forget it. Charles Pottinger, you did it.
Uh-oh.
He, and with amateur boxing for young people, you only do 3 rounds,
Mm-hmm.
3 3-minute rounds, and wow, those were the hardest, longest 3 rounds I ever fought in my life.
Be disciplined, you know.
Yeah.
You have to fight. I did martial arts, jiu-jitsu, you know.
Yes.
Currently I'm a blue belt, but COVID matched that up.
Yeah,
I would have been a lot
I'm
further
gonna go
along.
back to it too.
But one thing is you have to get out of your mind of what's the word I'm looking for? Pride. You have to set aside your pride when you are in martial arts, because your opponent looks for your weakness. So if your fear is you losing to your opponent is going to feed off that and put you in precarious situations to force you to either fight or fight. And if you don't have that discipline within you, you will give up within the match and you lost.
Yeah, well said.
You
Well
know,
said.
if you don't have that dedication within you and you have that self discipline, you can't compete. And I use that training and that mindset in all aspects of my life, and make sure that my shortcomings don't dictate who I am as an individual. I try to face everything. I'm a person that wear my heart on my sleeve. I try to face everything and put everything out in the open, out on the table, so I can compartmentalize things and makes my weaknesses my strengths, and cultivate my strengths and make it myself even stronger. And it starts with discipline.
Absolutely.
Right.
Totally agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how was it transitioning from being a professional or semi-pro soccer player to going into radio? You know, you are outdoorsy type of person. Being in radio, you is like being sedentary. You know,
Yeah,
and your outlet, your way of expressing yourself is through your mouth and not your
Actions.
physical
Right.
body. So,
Right,
how
right.
was that transition?
Okay, very good question, because growing up in Jamaica, I was always an outdoors type guy.
Mhm.
Always, I'm a water baby. Always, and after my dad and I connected, that's how I learned about scuba diving, snorkeling, water sports, and then on that time, used to hike up in the mountains, Warwick Hill,
Mhm.
Blue Mountain. When I had a short stint in the Jamaica Defense Force military,
Mhm.
but I played soccer for them. That's what I did.
Mhm.
I went in for soccer. But we had to train up in the mountains a place called Newcastle,
Mm-hmm.
where most soldiers are trained, and it's way up in the mountains. There were times I used to just walk up in the woods and just enjoy the nature of it, finding mango trees, guinea trees, all these wild. See, Jamaica is such a fruitful island.
Mm-hmm.
So I came here and was so obsessed with enjoying the outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
fishing and all of that stuff. But I understand that all that kind of stuff is seasonal. Here, you can't do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. You
Depending
could,
because
but you know you
the
have
weather
to adapt
conditions,
to the
weather
weather.
conditions. So when I realized that because I'm going to be honest with you, I got into radio, but I don't love radio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I like to do is MC.
Mm-hmm.
I just did one yesterday. I like to MC in front of a large group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I get my energies from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Radio, I can't see or get the response except if I'm looking at the chat room,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where my energy comes from. Or if my outside listeners send me a text message in WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest influence is the people I see and how they react
Mm-hmm.
in the chat room. So that transition was difficult because I was not moving, I was not mobile. I was just you're transfixed in a chair talking to people you probably can't even see how they respond.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little different. This is why I have I love what I do, but radio is not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually MCing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is your ultimate goal in being a radio host? You know, optimal goal radio.
I would like to touch the community
Mm-hmm.
with community-based initiatives and programs that will help to develop young people and the companies within our neighborhood being involved, so the sponsorship is there to help improve certain charities that will help people's lives. So that's one of my primary goals. The next goal is to have a program where a diverse group of people are involved, which will help people to understand each other. Ethnically, we are separated because everybody sits within their culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safety zone.
Yeah, it is.
But if we were to step outside of it and have some familiarity with other people's cultures, it would bring a more closer understanding of the behavior that we see with different groups, races,
Mm-hmm.
ethnic groups. So that's one of my ultimate goal, to kind of bring people to understand each other through radio with programs and the biggest thing, music.
Mm-hmm. I think I was going to piggyback on that with your ultimate goal. Two things in the world that bring people from all walks of life together: music, especially
Yes.
reggae music,
Yes,
and food,
yes,
especially Jamaican food.
yes, yes.
You know,
yes.
people will come and they will get together, and I do Creatives Corner, as well as go to different events, and I cover events and do the videography. And I notice when we go to especially reggae shows, how people from different walks of life, they communicate with each other and they leave their differences outside.
Yes.
Before they enter the venue, and their main focus is the reggae music, and they talk how the music influenced them, and you'll see in their garb how reggae music has influenced them. You'll see people from Denmark and Germany with dreadlocks and
Right.
things of that nature, and it's a beautiful sight to see.
Yeah.
And food is another thing, because spices is something that brings evokes a spirit within you. You know,
Yes.
my mother was a caterer. She was a chef, and all of her siblings cooked. And one of the things that people always say when they eat my mother's cooking is how soulful it is. It feeds their spirit, You know, so if you bring those two things together at a food and music festival,
Right.
and then you add different programs into it, and put people at peace to actually empathize with
Yes.
other people's positions, whether it's economic or social or cultural, then it will bring about a conversation so
Absolutely.
people could learn about other people's cultures. Because if you, as somebody who's Jamaican, speak to somebody who is Ethiopian,
Yes.
or from India, and you have a plate of food and some music in the background, you forget about all your
True.
differences. You'll forget about that person prays to Vishnu and you pray to Jesus Christ. You're just saying, okay, this is good food, this is good music. How can I learn from this person?
That's
You know what I mean?
right.
Because we on equal footing. Your differences is out the window. So one thing that you could do is add those things together to incorporate it and mix the pot.
Correct.
You know, because my brother, he used to have a sound system back in the 80s and the early 90s in New York.
Right, I remember you told me.
Renegade. Yeah, and one thing I would see different people from different walks of life coming together, and they just listen to the music. They have, you know,
Yeah.
you grew up in the Bronx, and there was different neighborhoods that you couldn't walk down certain neighborhoods at a certain time if you're
Right.
from certain neighborhoods. But
Mhm.
music is one of the things that you can come together and rub a dub. But as soon as the music stops, that's it. All bets are off. So music could cultivate and bring,
Right.
invoke that good,
Good
wholesome
vibes,
music
good
with each other.
connections. Yes. The biggest thing we have to deal with as human beings is the fear. One of the biggest things is fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
When there's no familiarity
Mhm.
with people, person, place, or a project,
Mhm.
this fear is developed. You develop this fear, but once you become acquainted, the fear just disappears.
You have to have trust.
The trust, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have to have trust. That's one of the good things about being religious. You have religion
Yes.
in your life, you have God in your life,
Yes.
you have to trust something because
Yes,
you understand that you are a part of a bigger picture, and there is a creator that is above you. And if you
Correct.
don't understand that concept, you would you would have trust issues. But if you do understand that concept, you would
Right.
have trust. You can able to trust people. So somebody from a different walk of life come around, and you can trust that person could be themselves. And if
Yes.
you have a difference, then you say, okay, we can have this differences, we can agree to disagree. I'm not going to be better than you are, you can't be better than I am. But food and music, those are the two things that
It's
are
good
bringing
stuff.
together.
Yes.
Without, because if you're a religion, if I'm a Christian and you are a Muslim, I'm going to say that my religion is better than your religion, and you more than likely is going to have the same thing.
Yeah.
But if you put a plate of food in front of us and your mouth is full of food and have no time to think about
There's
that,
no
it's
comparison.
just the flavors. That's
It's
it.
just enjoying that cuisine, man.
Right. Right. So, what is on the horizon for Eazy G?
Well, yeah, it's a lot of things. A lot of things. I have a major project in mind, which is my own business,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's actually being formatted, and it will be like presented in a sense. But I have the paperwork, everything going right now, and that and my transition.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically it, and just enjoy my children.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my joy and pride is spending time with my girls and going on trips, doing stuff,
Travel.
and my family. Yes, my family, and just enjoying life. You know, making moves, going places, doing things, and of course, still gonna have the radio being a part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I think is gonna stay with me,
Yeah.
unless I just abruptly decide that's it. But for now, it's gonna be a part of me. But yeah, going forward, my major move right now is focusing on a business venture that I have in mind, and just enjoying time with my children.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned acting. Do you take on roles every once and again to keep that acting chops up? You know, you were acting in theater is a different monster than
Yes.
acting in front of a camera, because
Yes.
you can director can say cut, and you can do
Right.
the scene over. When you act in
Right.
plays, everything is live, and you
Yes.
must know your lines, and you have to
to.
evoke the spirit of the character. You are a thespian, not a lesbian.
Right.
You are a lesbian.
And you do not have key cards,
Mm-hmm.
huge key cards. So if you miss your line, you're like, oh,
Yeah, you have
And
to
prompt,
be
those prompting
impromptu.
lines.
You have to think on the fly. Your brain has to work at 1,000,000 miles a minute, and we have that rapport when we do the skit. You know, a lot of the times we just go off the cuff, and we feed off each other's energy. So I can attest to you when you say that you rather MC and see the energy from other people, because I did yoga. And when you do yoga on your own, you have your own self to try to elevate your energies. But when you are in a room with other yogis and you meditate, you become one organism, and you feed off each other's energy. So I understand what you say when you say you want to be in a room with people and move the crowd. It's a different feeling. You get different energies. You know, and you can inspire other people positively.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, with what you said, and we should always incorporate anything that will help to enhance the mind and body. The mind and body is a unit, works well together. So yoga, meditation are so important for human development. And I do a little of it. I just need to get into it a little bit more seriously. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
It is.
It is.
We all should in our society. To bring a oneness to earth, and people could empathize with other cultures. There would be no room for wars and differences, because you understand somebody else, because you are in the trenches with them doing things. So this is your time, Eazy G. Whatever words of wisdom you have for my audience, this is the floor. Whatever project you have going on, let the people know.
Well, just letting everybody know that I'm at www.optimalgoldradio.com. I have 2 shows, one on Fridays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's called Morning Vibes. And on Sundays, which is what I'll be doing in a few minutes, it's called Sweet Sensations. So you want to join us. Sweet Sensations on Sundays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Morning Vibes, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. With my radio, I also do ceremonies, birthday parties, weddings, all the necessary things you need. If you need someone to hold a mic for a special charity, I'm there to do it. And that's it. To people out there who are struggling, and you find that you might feel like you're at a dead end, remember, everything we face in life is temporary. Nothing is permanent. You will get by it. You will get through it. But you have to focus with a positive attitude. Never let your obstacles or your inflictions control you. You control your destiny. You can change it.
Very poignant. And on that note, this is another episode of Creators Corner. I'm James Dale. This is Eazy G. See you on the next one.